All right. How's it going, Tithe? Yep, I am getting back to the M5 stack. We're building on top of what we did, and actually hug reports are in order for retired wizard. Ooh. Shared this with me. They took the start of what we did yesterday on the stream and have kind of added on to it a little bit. It's using debouncer, which we weren't before, and it's also got implemented shift and all of the modifier keys, or maybe not all of them, but some of them at least, which we had none of them. So shift and function, we can see here are set up exactly how we did it with 0, 1, and 2 indexes inside of this lookup table. But the next thing I want to build on top of this is with HTTP server. I have kind of this idea of like a messenger app where you can chat back and forth between like the person who has the device physically with the keyboard and then a person who is connected to the same Wi-Fi network. And that could either be like a common Wi-Fi network, or it could be... Didn't I fix a bunch of these yesterday? These don't have commas. Yeah, these totally need commas. I swear we fixed a bunch of those. I should take... Here's what I'm actually going to do. So the idea being like one person loads it up in a browser, loads up a web page, and then that person who has the web page loaded is going to see an interface that lets them chat back and forth with the person who has the keyboard. And that could either be like a common network, like, you know, meet at the coffee store or the library or whatever, or that could be like the Cardputer could actually, I'm pretty sure it could host its own network as the access point or whatever. So then the phone or the computer can join Cardputer's network, albeit probably at a much shorter distance than if you use a common shared network that's like has its own infrastructure. Call that one keyboard backup. And I am actually going to take this one so that we can have shifted stuff. This one's basically got Cardputer and multiplexer keys. Which, yeah, those should actually belong inside of Cardputer, which makes sense. Right now we just have them kind of in here. So I guess let me... Got default pins, or... Yeah, okay. We're actually just going to nuke all of this. Paste this in. Start from here. We're going to need imports. Just copy the imports too. I don't know why I didn't. Major modifiers, crucial for some things. WebSockets, WebSockets. Yep, that is exactly my plan. Is there's HTTP server. Let's see which one. That's what we want. Let's see, examples. One of these examples is WebSockets, or something else which I hadn't heard of before. I tested this, server-side events, I think it was, but WebSockets I'm more familiar with, and it's a similar mechanism. There is an example for this, and we're basically going to be taking this, hammering on the keyboard half of it here, All right, we could, I mean, we could really, there's no reason why we need to like really stuff all of this in the exact same file. Maybe we could go ahead and make a Cardputer over here. In which case, we're gonna take these and put them back over there. And our main, I suppose we can actually start with this. And then we'll create a Cardputer. Oh, this is async? I guess that's okay. All right, let's just get connected here and make sure I understand how this actually works. So I don't know if we have NeoPixel. I guess there is, but I can't really see it. There it is, okay. Ooh. Module async IO. That's gonna put a damper on this. Is it require async? I thought there was possible to do this without async IO. I'm pretty sure it is by just using like WebSocket.receive. Is there like an old one of these or one of these without async? Modified to use async IO. Okay, let me just open this in here. It's going to be easier. I think I'm just going to check out the commit right before that. Is 925. Wish I could still see the rest of the list. Oh, nice. It kept me there. That's convenient. Okay, so that commit modified it. So we're just going to go to here. Check out this version. Get this, which does not use async IO. We could try to figure out why there's no async IO, but right, that's a library. The few libraries without Adafruit in the name, or like anything else, really. Okay, and then now we have the next problem, which is the WebSocket has been refactored in the library, so the example doesn't work anymore. I wish we would keep the example. Once I get this working, I'm going to resubmit it. I wish there was an example with no async IO. What's our problem? 12, so we have no WebSocket for some reason. All right, so we need to look at the current example and try to figure out how to... This is not really the browser I want. I mean, this looks like it's trying to import WebSocket the same way. So it just didn't get that far. It just failed before it got there. So why would there not be that? Do I not? You know, I suppose. Yeah, it just has no WebSocket. So fair enough, I guess. It's kind of odd though, isn't it? How would I have gotten version without WebSocket on here? How's it going, DJ Devin? I don't have the Discord up all the time, but I did happen to just check it out. I can see the Twitch, the YouTube easier, but I'll try to check in on the Discord too. Milk and cookies kept me awake. You could say that. Although it's still middle of the afternoon for my time zone. Figured I would pop on the stream while I worked on this for a bit. I think we should be able to run. Do we get this WebSocket now or no? Okay. Either this thing needs to refresh, or maybe WebSocket is inside of a init. Socket. It's inside a response. Let's see. Okay. Well, anyway, it seems to have gotten farther. We can't start on none 5000. So my guess is that means we're not connected to Wi-Fi. And in order to fix that, unfortunately for you all, I need to come over here where you cannot see. Because I need to look at settings toml, and indeed, there's nothing in settings toml. It means I need to plug in something else. Copy the settings toml from it, all while not being visible. I thought I put that on there. I guess it was maybe before we wiped it accidentally the other day. Okay. Bring this back. It's a Blade Runner reference, I see. Not used to seeing you on Sunday. Nope. Yep. Usually not out. Usually not up on Sundays for the stream, but figured I would pop it on since I was working on this anyway. All right, where do we get when we run that now? I think we, well, let me just like reset button it, because I bet it should be more likely to go back to, there we go. Now we have an IP. Okay. So it should start up this time. Now, one question will be is, does it start up before Tio got connected, which is the case? Yes, it did, because we don't see the IP in here, but I can see it here. 129. Was on port 5000. And I think we need to go to like /client or something. That's the wrong device. And unplug that before I accidentally open anything on it. Load. Let's see, back to there. CodePy. I wish I could keep it open after it gets unplugged or reset. Yeah, client. will return the HTML template. So I think that's what we want. There we go. Okay, so we get live CPU temp, and then we get the color as well. Let me refresh, and then maybe we can go to WebSocket, but it does say 0 bytes. Looks like this time we did not get it. I think maybe... Well, this makes it look like it restarted, so thing seems to have made it restart, potentially. There we go. Now we have actual WebSocket data, and then if we find... How do you do it? Is it in here? Yeah, there we can see data coming in from the microcontroller through the WebSocket by virtue of inside the main loop, it checks if WebSocket is not none. And if it's not, then it reads data. This would read the data, so presumably we could send a color with that color picker. Oh, I can actually see that. See it shining through up there. So the page can send WebSocket data to the server, and then the server can send WebSocket data to the page using this bit down here. Okay, so let me take this how it is and make a non-async IO. Okay, I will commit that yard eventually. I think it would be nice to have both of those though. Okay, so we want to start the meat of this really. So the way I want this to work, I think, is when you... I think I'm interested in having it keep a history as well inside some JSON files. So I think the very first thing it needs to do is ask you for a username, basically, the name that you are trying to message under, essentially. And from the handset's perspective, it's like always the handset user messaging with some other user that has declared their name. We will store all the messages between the handset user and that other user inside of a file with that username. So I think what I'm going to do is make a route /chat/ and then we're actually going to put the username in the URL. Probably this is going to support post as well. I do need to look at an example of how to do placeholders. I don't know the right name, but variables inside the URL. Here we go. Okay, that's pretty easy. So we put that in some angly bracket boys, and then I forget the way to do trailing slash or something. Trailing. If you want to route with a given path, use append /true. I do want that. I prefer the So we'll do with this, and then we'll do append/true. Post, we probably need to import. That's going to be username, def chat, and then that's going to get passed like this. And then to test it, let's just do return response status. Probably I should use text response or something. And that's just okay. Yeah, we need to do more stuff like this. Let's do request. Then we have the string request came from here. Request request status. Probably not called status, I guess. Status. It is called status. Status. I don't know why that one doesn't like it. Oh. Right. I guess it wants both of these. I think there's like constants. Yeah, there's like this. All right, let's see if that works. Okay, perfect. Is this where you show us how to use SQLite in CircuitPython? It is not. I am going to be just storing it with JSON. Straight up text inside of a JSON file on the SD card is my plan. On the topic of, let's not say SQLite, but maybe SQL-ish or SQL ultra light. If you are interested, SQL.json. This is a Python library. Foamy SQL JSON, if you want to find it. This is a Python library that I made a couple weeks back that is a very basic version of SQL that is like SQLite in some ways. If you are interested in adding more features to it or seeing if it has the features you want to use, technically, if you're okay with a very limited environment, then it is kind of a SQL environment you could use on CircuitPython, but it also does not have very many features. And I don't necessarily intend to use it for this project. I do have a use case in mind for it, though, in a different project, albeit one that does involve an HTTP server as well. This one is basically storing its data inside of a JSON file and then allowing you to like execute SQL against that data and get back SQL-ish responses, like a list of data as though it came back from a database. Okay, so that worked. We got our username, that came through. So what I want to do now is we need to initialize the SD card. which I thought I had, but oh, keyboard binary is empty. Oh, keyboard test is empty also. Oh, there's a lot of these are empty. Keyboard proposal is basically the binary one, so I guess that's fine. It's kind of weird those are empty though. I thought we were restored. Maybe those got emptied out again after they were restored, or maybe they weren't part of what got restored. Alright, anyway, I don't seem to have any SD card stuff. You know where I left some SD card stuff is the PR in the core that added the Cardputer. Cardputer. I was also keen on trying to avoid disk writes for every message. Can't remember if it writes by default or not. Yeah, I can't remember. It might have a flush or something. It's definitely not made with efficiency or anything like that in mind at all. I made it specifically to be enough of a SQL engine to be susceptible to injection, to use it to hopefully show people the concept of SQL and the concept of SQL injection, especially people who have no prior knowledge of either. So it's like very, very limited, but it's enough to introduce those two concepts. And then like if you wanted to, you could go and start using SQLite afterwards, an actual SQL engine, not in CircuitPython, unfortunately, but maybe one of these days. Here we go. This is what we want. So I want to initialize the SD card, and then basically we're going to create this data file for the username if it doesn't exist already. And I guess we'll just do this like up here somewhere. One thing is I think we'll want to unmount this or whatever. What is secret storage? What is that? That doesn't exist on here. Okay. Must be a Python thing. We don't really need the rest of this. I do want the unmount code, which it's a kind of a random spot to look for it, but I happen to know that it's in here, PyCamera library. A lot of stuff like this where I'm like, I know where I saw this before. I don't remember the exact code I need, but I know where I saw it. It's pretty easy, just storage unmount. So what we're going to do is just wrap the whole main loop with try except. Format the exception, and then try to unmount. So now if we control C, we should break out, we should unmount, it should mount at the beginning. So we should always be unmounted in REPL and mounted when the code's running. Mount point directory missing. Okay, that's awkward. So it doesn't have /sd, which gets made by default these days, so... Part of me is like, we probably maybe should run format. But if we run format, we're gonna lose all of our files again. So I think I'm gonna just make SD, hope for the best. All right, that seems to have worked. We don't really have any code interacting with it yet, so let's go chat username. So now what we're gonna do is check if the data file exists for that username or not. Yep. CTF is what the SQLite's for. I mean, the introductions of those concepts, but yeah, via the web CTF I was working on a while back. I think it has almost been long enough since I touched the web CTF that I made that I can actually like try to do it again as a user. And I won't just remember 100% of everything about it, so it should be fun one of these days. We want to check if this file exists, which we can do with os.exists, I think, right? Exists? Os. Is it file exists? I thought there was like, is there not a... I mean, there's lister, I guess we could use. Is file? os.path.isFile? I have no path. os.path.exists also is a thing too. os.stat, isn't that a thing that checks something on a file? I think, doesn't this should tell me if a file exists or not, I think, maybe? Yeah, no such file or directory. Yeah. Okay, so we will do os.stat and we'll catch the exception. So we say try os.stat /sd/ I'll make another subdirectory as well, like messages. And then this will be username.json. Except os error. That means the file doesn't exist, so we'll make it f equals open. Is there like a touch or something? Not really, huh? Uname unlink urandom utime. Wonder what's unlink. There's makedir. No, like make file. If I make a file and write nothing into it, is it still gonna exist? Equals open. Open that file for writing. I just call close. It should make it, right? Open it, close it, and then let's just print, see if it worked by doing os.lister /sd/messages. Oh, you know what? It's gonna fail because messages doesn't exist. So let's Guess let's make that. Go try bus.stat sd/messages. You give it a name, it should exist in the directory. Nice, okay. Storage path. Storage path? They're like a... Mount, remount, unmount. Disable, erase. No path, if that's what you meant. Stat messages, except the OS error. And then do os.makedir sd/messages. Okay, that should test if it exists and then make it if it doesn't, which means it should exist by the time we get to here. That should make a file for the username we chose, and then it should print a list of all the things in there, which should let us see all the JSON files. So let's run with that and see what part of it is broken before we get too much further. I can just refresh that. All right, so it's not substituting in here. These need to be F strings. And now we have a weird file with brackets in the name, but that's okay. Oops. 34. Shouldn't stat be failing? I mean, right now I expect it to fail here because it's not mounted. I mean, do we need like a tiny bit of sleep or something? I feel like that's maybe a wait a second type thing. I mean, it won't print though, right? Because invalid argument 33. Invalid argument. This is a tuple. Well, is it? No, I guess it's probably not, but I want it that way anyway. File exists. Why would it be invalid? Path string. Is it not like the trailing slash? Doesn't like the trailing slash. Interesting. All right. Whatever. There we go. All right. Now test name exists. Let me refresh one more time and make sure it doesn't crash or anything. Perfect. So this time it was like file already exists. Hopefully it didn't create it again. Though we wouldn't really know if it did, but whatever. Okay, I'm gonna make a file inside of static that is gonna be called That template. Okay, we're going to render a template as our response instead of the string. I'm just going to assume it exists. Although I may do it to install it. Let me catch up on the chat. Sorry, folks. I don't have the Discord chat open. My apologies. Twitch or YouTube I have up on top. Please rename to FQL, foamy queried language. Nice to see more advanced ATP servers used in actual projects. Totally agreed. Secret storage means NVM. I think on CPython it's probably something different. Exists and is file, right. I think this does ring a bell. This is so weirdly black magical though, if I'm honest. Be nice to implement os.exists one of these days, or is it os.path.exists? No isters file, yep. This is all from a little while ago, sorry, I'm catching up just now. Ant's floppy disk was chock full of directory pathing code. Hugely long script, yeah. Paths get crazy on you. I couldn't even imagine floppy. I don't even know the rules of floppies. I'm sure floppies have their own rules for the paths compared to modern file systems, I would assume. Be hard to make a guide with code separated into multiple files. I think you could do that all right. It's all right for that. You can, because you can just embed multiple files or different files in different pages and stuff. Yeah, I would say that is all the learn system too. I don't know as much about Playground. I haven't done a Playground one yet. All right. Sorry about that. I am hiding the Discord again though, so the easiest way to catch my eye is more so Twitch or YouTube right now, but I will check back in on the Discord in a bit. Where are we at here? So the path, that's going to be, we're not even really going to have a path. We're going to have username, which is username. And items, we're going to eventually have some items, but they're not going to be called items. They're going to be called messages. And for now, we'll just make it an empty list. What? That's odd. So my instinct about what's happening is something raised an exception that we consumed with this that for some reason did not print anything. Yeah, I have no idea why, but let's worry about a few other things first. So for one thing, this doesn't exist. I wonder if we really should do a storage.format. That's really weird. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We have gotten, like, indented. How did this happen? Okay, there we go. Yeah, our whole main got put inside a chat. There we go. Okay, so now let's try this, refresh. Okay, boom. So one thing is we're getting content type text. Let me change that to HTML. There we go. All right, chatting as test name. Perfect. Very good. Now, nothing just yet. Let's not worry about that yet. What do we do first? Okay, let's say we want to be able to... So I want to be able to send a message from this page into the server, which means this page needs to have an input on it. So let's do that. Label message input ID message input. That's why Python will always suck. I appreciate indenting reasons, but white space not equals code. Yeah, I'm pretty much with you on that. I definitely I would say I prefer brackets personally. I mean, that could have just as easily been a mistake with brackets, but it would have been less likely to have been valid code, I guess. I'm guessing I either, like, I must have highlighted a bunch of stuff and hit tab, or I must have, when I had this pasted in and it was halfway broken, I must have hit Control-Alt-L and it must have got confused and formatted the rest of the page without realizing. My two guesses, but yeah, I would say, like, brackets probably would have made the problem more clear more quickly to my eye. All right, so we're gonna make a, I guess we can just post back to here, honestly. So this is honestly all, this is all if request dot method is get. Else, I'm gonna actually be specific and say elif request method post. We need to get the data. I don't know how to do, but there's an example for that. Request.formData. .get, and then we can do a key. So request.formData.get message. And for now, I'll just say print the message, and then I'll return a response. Request. That's it, I guess. Less likely. Some problems possible. Yeah, that's definitely true. I would say the IDEs make it a lot nicer, the white space. The IDE manages to make it to where I don't notice very frequently the difference between white space versus brackets, I would say. Which if you just had a text editor, you have to worry about a lot more. Like inside PyCharm, Control-Alt-L for format is very good about fixing the white space, although ironically it might have been the thing that screwed me this time, but it's typically pretty good about fixing and keeping straight and just managing it so you don't have to care about it as much. So that's going to get that. It's going to print it. It's going to return OK. An input. We might as well use a form, I guess. Should we? No, we don't really want to use a form because a form is going to automatically try to, like, load the page with the response to this, which I don't really want to do. So what I'm going to do is, I guess we're going to be using fetch, like Ajax, essentially. which I'm more familiar with jQuery, truthfully, but I guess we'll try. We'll use fetch instead. We need a button. Button, send, ID, send, button. Send, okay. Script. Okay, let's get some variables. Let button, send button, query selector, send button, message input. I'm used to jQuery for clicks as well. What is it? Is it on click? On click? See if that worked. All right, that does work. Okay, so when we click on the button, this gets called. We're gonna want to go fetch. I gotta find a fetch example. Back to async. Wait, what? Plug movies. Okay, they put that into a function, I guess. I guess that's fine. All right, so that is going to be localhost. It's actually just going to be okay, first of all, I need to do a post. Okay, maybe we'll just use this actually. All right, so that's expecting JSON back. So I like to do that for JSON endpoints. Oh, wait, no, this is sending the body as JSON. All right, I guess that's fine. We'll probably have to change the code in the backend, I think, but that's all right. All right, post data is going to go to slash. It's going to go to the same place we're at, honestly. Data will be message, and that will be message input dot. Sure. Does that work? I don't know if that works or not. Could just say console.log. Promise state pending. All right, we got a post. 100 okay. Promise state pending fulfilled. Success. Okay, yeah, we got data. Value has success true. Nice. State pending. I don't know why it's state pending. What is value? How do I get value? That's weird. I'm not very good with promises. Let me look back at this. No, this. It says then data. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Okay, which means this is all totally different actually. So we go post data, then we say then. That's a function. Response data. That's why it was pending, because we printed it before it finished, because we didn't use then. There we go. All right, now we have our object. That's true. This is none. So we need to see, we need to get the data differently. I'm just all over the place. Does one of these take it from... request.json? I think that's what we want. I don't know if .get is a real thing for dictionaries. Assume this gives us a dictionary, basically. Maybe let's just print this. Message is empty. Okay, this is wrong then. Text content. Okay. Oh, it's .value, I think, right? It's easy enough. There we go. Okay. .value. Oh, right. The floppy is not an actual floppy. That's right. I forgot about that project. I was thinking of floppy IO, like what Jeff's working on with the, I don't know the name of the hardware, but the hardware that has the like parallel port or whatever for hooking up old school floppy drives. I forgot, and made the one that's like a, kind of like a thumb drive, basically, that looks like a floppy drive, which is awesome. No matter the monitors, yeah, I won't let you have single character per line more than allowed. Bad thing about requiring condensed, you have enough statements, usable code, the area becomes smaller. Yeah, that's true. I agree about that. That's what I would say. One of my bigger pet peeves about the white space indentation thing is the fact that you end up like migrating yourself to the right, and it's like best practice, I guess, would be refactor your code to be in different files, but at the same time, it's also like, I don't know, I don't really feel in some situations, I don't feel like it makes the code any better necessarily to be that way. This kind of has to be that way unless you want it to be all squashed. But such is life for Python developers. Okay, let's do that. Okay, so when this gets posted, what we are going to do is build a build a message object and store it inside of the data file with that user's names. So we have the username, we have the message. I would like to have the time as well, and I would like the time to be sort of maybe somewhat accurate-ish. So we are actually going to also take a quick detour to Adafruit NTP. Set the RTC. We're already connected. We don't have to care about that stuff. These three magical lines right here. Whoops. I really want to rename that. I don't actually have NTP yet, so let's install that with Circuit. Oh. RTC is not defined. Oh, I just need to import it, I think. Okay, there we go. So that will have hit an NTP server, found out the current time. So let's also start adding a timestamp to our page. So context, username, messages, timestamp, quotes. Flopsy board. There you go. Okay, timestamp. That's going to be time.local time. Then in here, let's do footer. Style timestamp. That's going to be position. Static. Right. 0. Doesn't need that. Bottom. 0. I want it to go to the bottom right. Let's just start like that, see what that gets us. Okay, so that is a object thingy. Can I get struct time? Can I just get milliseconds? And then on the JavaScript side, surely I can put those milliseconds into a JavaScript object, date object for showing. Oh, geez. Wow. Time.local time. No. What's time.time? Function. That looks like milliseconds. Stopped it by going to the REPL. Alright. Indian.js parse timestamp to date date.parse. That's a string though. Date Unix timestamp times 1000. I don't know if it's actually milliseconds or seconds. We want to go timestamp span dot inner text. So date dot yes. Format date to string. To locale string. Bunch of defaults and stuff. Let's just see what the default is. To locale string. Nice. Is that right? Sunday, March 10th. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Let's so I wanted it at the bottom right, which didn't work, but I think probably it's because our page is not big enough. I don't know about the right actually. So the bottom right has no effect since it's not a positioned element. Try setting position to something other than static. Not be static? Fixed? Or absolute, maybe? There we go. That's what I want. Okay, so now we get a timestamp of what time the server thinks it is. We can send a message, and that message shows up on the server side. Well, it did last time, at least. Okay, yeah, that's working. I think I maybe took the printout, or what? The printout? Yeah, took the prints out, okay. Okay, let's, I'll probably wrap it up after I do this part, which is gonna be, save the new message into the data file. So when a post comes in, so actually one thing we're gonna do here is we're gonna make an inner function def prep data file, which is gonna have this inside of it. So then we'll call that right there. And then we will actually also call that right here too, so that we do it on the post as well. Which theoretically, we shouldn't be receiving a post without having a get, but like theoretically, they could also send it without a get. So we should handle it this way. So prep, then we get our data. What we're gonna do is make a new message object. New message object. That's going to have, I'm gonna do a little bit of shortcuts. It's gonna have a message, which will be request data message. It's gonna have a time, which will be the timestamp. It's gonna have the user, which will be username. Actually, it doesn't really need the user because it's in the username's file, right? So that's just extra, we don't need that. The time and the message. But we do need one more thing, actually. We need to know which direction the message is going. Is this a message from the user to the server, or is it a message from the server to the user? Or another way to think of it is it a message from the base station, the Cardputer, out to the remote client, or is it a message from the remote client back to whoever's got the Cardputer? So let's do, how do we want to handle that? I think I'm just going to say TO, and then yeah, 2, and I think the way that's going to work is 0 is going to be to the Cardputer, and 1 is going to be to the remote client. Just to keep it short and sweet and not repeat the user's name since we already have it inside the file name. Okay, so now we have an object, so we're going to go open that file for writing. Well, can we read from it if we opened it for writing? I don't know. We actually need, let's make another one of these. Read data for username. Read data equals json.loads f.read return that. Okay, so now we got that. Eventually we'll use that here as well, but let's do our post first. So new message, so we're gonna get the data, user data, Get data for user, username. And then we're going to go user data. We're actually going to say, okay, actually when we create this, we're not going to write nothing. Actually, we're going to write something, although mine's going to be messed up, which is unfortunate. I'll change to a new username. We actually want to write valid JSON. And in fact, we want to write valid JSON with messages as the list. Yeah, we want to make that. Then here we're going to go user data messages dot append the new message object. And then we're going to make a save one also. Save data for user, username, data. Writable. F.write json.dumps data. User data, messages append, save, username, user data, which has now been modified. Let's go user data equals read data, username, messages equals user data, messages. And let's also do a quick for loop so we can just put the messages on the page. There's no for loop here. I need template engine is what I'm looking for. I don't know the syntax off the top of my head. And for, so that's going to be messages. To start with, we're just going to do super basic. I'll just plaster it in a paragraph. Message. What did I do? Text or message with MSG? Should maybe be data. I think I'm going to change it to data. Data. Yeah. Eventually we'll do time stuff also, but let's just do that for now. Data messages. Okay, save that. I need a new name. Different name. Is it actually running also? I think that's probably just because of the bad name. Maybe let's try. No, okay. Valid syntax error in JSON. 1. So it was the problem that I thought it would be, but it should be valid JSON, right? Okay, so now we're chatting as another. We have no messages. We send a message. We got back an okay. I didn't have it actually put the message into the page here, but I'm going to refresh. Nice. Now we have this message. Anything else? Send. Refresh. Boom. All right. So now we're getting our messages coming through when we load the page. Okay. I think we're going to stop there for now, but you can see how it's kind of starting to come together a bit. We would eventually go back, show the times as well, use the to field to determine whether it should go like on the left or the right, or maybe color coded or something. And then we need to make the front end page, we need to make the JavaScript on this page here connect to the WebSocket, and then we need to make it so that when the user types on the keyboard, the physical keyboard on the device, and presses enter, then it will send whatever was typed into the WebSocket, which this page will then receive and put onto the page. The backend will also save it into the JSON data file. All right, let me catch up on the chat one last time, and then I'll be signing off for now. Not sure whether that matters much, but the WebSocket example was made for one client only. Yep, I did know that. It is, and I am working around that limitation. We'll have only a single client, which is the client page, the JavaScript inside this page. The keyboard hardware itself will just be another part of main loop, and so when they press enter, it will... It's not like connecting to the WebSocket as a client, it's just sending in the WebSocket as the server to the only client that is connected, which will be this front end page, assuming the person hasn't left yet. How often can you call pull in NTP for resyncing? I mean, I think you could call it as often as you want. I think there's probably diminishing returns like once a day or once an hour or something, I would imagine is probably all the more that's necessary. I definitely like it in my projects that are on the network, because then it makes it so that your device's time is correct, especially if you're doing things like writing files. It'll make it so the files have accurate timestamps, I found, which is pretty cool. And that codes, it seems, no matter how often you run. Yep. Doubt it's a real RTC. That's a good point. Yeah, I have no idea if it's an actual real RTC or if it remembers. In this case, it's got a pretty beefy battery, but I don't know if you if I unplug it, maybe it doesn't actually remember. I'm not sure. Just don't leave old multiple chat tab. Yeah, that's the case. You'll have to close the tabs, otherwise it'll get stuck, which is a good point. Maybe we'll add some error handling for when the WebSocket is already consumed or something. Alrighty, take it easy, folks. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your weekend. I will see you again next week for deep dive, and then I'll be back on Saturday morning at the usual time of 10 a.m. Central as well. So I will see you then, and until then, I will bid you farewell. Thanks for hanging out.